Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto discovers a unique ice ability during training. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. The village of Konoha, one of the 5 great shinobi villages in the elemental countries, was currently bursting with life even though it was only 7 am. Tomorrow would be 6th year anniversary of the death of the 9-tailed fox demon by their beloved Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Today everyone was setting up all kinds of game and food stands for the festival that was coming tomorrow to celebrate the memorable day. All except for little Naruto Uzumaki, whose 6th birthday was tomorrow as well. He was watching all the happy villagers as they ran around with contempt as he looked out his apartment window with a blank expression while wearing blue pajama pants and a t-shirt. Naruto was between 3 foot 6 inches and 3 foot 8 inches with 3 whisker marks on each side of his face, piercing blue eyes, and messy blonde spiky hair. "How I loathe playing the part of the fool for you people," said Naruto as he continued to watch the happy villagers. Whenever Naruto was out in public, he would always act like a smiling stupid idiot because on his 5th birthday he finally had enough of the villagers' cold glares, Ninja Academy teachers' discreet ways of trying to make him fail, kids his own age ignoring him, making fun, even bullying, shop owners adding a few extra dollars to whatever he bought. And the worst thing of all was that even though the adults never did more than ignore him or give him cold glares, they would sometimes encourage their older children to play with Naruto, and when they finished playing, Naruto would come home bruised and beaten. But the other kids would usually go home in a similar condition because these were the only times Naruto would drop his mask and fight back. He only did this because he figured that if he was truly hated and already thought of as a failure, then that's what he would give them, at least until his 12th birthday when the final exams at the Ninja Academy came around, because that's when he decided that he would drop his mask and show everyone just how much of a prodigy he really was. "There's no point in revealing my true abilities to you people until the final exam in 6 years, because not only will I surprise all of you, but no matter what the grades I get now or they do not have anything to do with where I'll be placed in the end. I'll become Rookie of the Year if only to see all their surprised faces as the dead last of the class beats them. I especially can't wait to wipe up that arrogant smile of Sasuke Uchiha," said Naruto before looking over to a flower on the windowsill as he held his hand a few inches away from it and watched as it slowly froze and changed into a beautiful crystallized ice flower. Naruto just sighed as he looked at the frozen flower and said, "I really need to find out just what bloodline this is and what its secrets are." And with that, Naruto changed into his usual orange jumpsuit with blue on the shoulders and a red spiral on the back and prepared to go to the library to see if he could find out any information about his recently discovered bloodline, like he's been doing for the last 2 months, which is when he accidentally activated it during one of his training sessions. Flashback 2 months ago. Those teachers forgot to give me tonight's homework again, and like usual everyone was all gaga over Sasuke just because he got few bullseyes during kunai throwing practice, growled out Naruto as he punched a training log. Naruto was extremely angry and frustrated today from what's been going on lately that he started punching the training log hard enough to make his knuckles bleed. With each punch he became angrier, and the angrier he became the colder he felt until everything slowed down, and when his fist hit the log it turned to ice and shattered. What just happened?" whispered a wide-eyed Naruto. When Naruto saw his reflection in a piece of ice on the ground, he couldn't help but gasp as he saw that his once sun-kissed blonde hair was now white, silver. His eyes were no longer piercing blue but amber with black slits. He had pointed ears, in the middle of his forehead was a purple crescent moon, and on each side of his face, starting from the base of his ear to halfway across his cheek, were 2 thin purple triangular-like marks. Think Sesshomaru from Inuyasha. But not a moment later his hair, eyes, and ears changed back to normal along with the marks disappearing. "What just happened?" whispered Naruto as he touched his face. End flashback. While Naruto locked the door to his apartment and started walking down the streets to the Konoha library, he couldn't help but think, ever since that day 2 months ago I haven't been able to activate that white-haired version of myself again. I wonder how I even did it. Naruto walked the rest of the way to the library silently as he continued to muse about his current dilemma. "I guess I should start researching again now that I'm here, I guess," said Naruto as he looked up at the library before heading up the steps and going through the door. When he went inside he noticed that it was completely empty and that the librarian was sleeping. Just the way I like it, said Naruto before heading over to the Bloodlines of the Elemental Countries section where he started browsing through Ice Bloodline abilities where he found a book that read, Bloodlines of the Land of Water. Well, I guess if what I have really is a bloodline then it might possibly be here, said Naruto before taking the book and sitting down at a table where he began reading. It was about 6 p.m. and the sun was just beginning to set while Naruto walked down the steps of the library and began to walk home. There were still people out finishing up their stands for the festival tomorrow, but all the people that were still out and not at home were on the other side of the village, and Naruto would soon find out that this would be a time where he would actually need someone else around. I still don't know what this power of mine is, but at least I did come across some interesting ice-based attacks that I'll try to use in my training tomorrow. Not to mention that picture I found of a dog demon that looked like an older version of me when I was in that white-haired version of myself. The book said that he was called the Tai Yokai and ruled the western lands, but died in the 1500s, after receiving serious wounds in a battle with another powerful demon that he barely managed to defeat, said Naruto before smirking and saying with a small laugh, "Who knows, maybe I'm a descendant of his." "More than you know," said a deep voice that made Naruto stop and look around before shrugging it off and continuing to walk home to his standard one-bedroom apartment in the upper middle-class area that the Sandaime bought for him on his 5th birthday, thinking that it would be safer for Naruto in an upper-class area than a more run-down section of the village. Doing that was probably one of the smartest things the Hokage could have done for Naruto too. "Hey kid, what you doing out so late?" slurred out a drunken ninja in a Junin outfit. "Just walking home," said Naruto as he turned around to face the drunk. The moment the drunk saw Naruto's face, he looked at Naruto with contempt and anger as he said, "You fox, there's no one around to save you today. All the Anbu watching have the day of to prepare for the festival," slurred out the ninja as he walked towards Naruto with an evil smirk that started to worry Naruto. "What are you talking about? Fox, Anbu watching me? You're not making any sense." But before Naruto could say anything else, he yelled out in surprise and pain as a kunai hit him in the shoulder. "Run," said that familiar deep voice again that made Naruto look around frantically only to see no one but the homicidal ninja slowly walking towards him with an evil smirk and a kunai in hand. "What are you waiting for now? Run," screamed the voice, and this time Naruto listened and started running after freezing the ground in front of him in hopes of slowing down the ninja. "Hey, you get back here so I can kill you," screamed the drunken ninja before running after Naruto and slipping on the ice that he didn't notice due to the darkness and his drunken state. "You little bastard, don't think you can escape me," screamed the enraged drunken Junin before getting up and chasing after Naruto. "Don't look back, Naruto, just keep running and I'll call for help." Naruto was too worried about surviving the night to wonder who was talking, so he just nodded and hoped whoever was coming would be here soon. Up in the mountains, an abnormally large light golden yellow dog-sized fox with brown-tipped ears, brown-tipped tail, brown paws, and white fur on its stomach was currently sleeping in a grassy meadow somewhere in Fire Country. "Wake up, Naruto, Uzumaki needs your help. Kushina's son and last of the Uzumaki clan needs your help." "What, Kyuubi, is that you?" said a deep demonic voice overlapped by a more noticeable feminine voice. "Yes, it is, but I'll explain later. All you need to know is that Kushina's son is in trouble and it's your duty to protect him, so get your ass over here to Konoha right now." At that, the fox stood up quickly with wide eyes as she whispered, "He's alive," before narrowing her eyes and saying, "I'm coming, Naruto," and taking off towards Konoha so quickly that all you saw was a light golden, almost yellow streak. "Just hang on a little longer, Naruto, she'll be here soon." "Who will be here soon?" said Naruto as he could hear the ninja catching up with him. Fortunately for Naruto, he was drunk, which made him slower than he would normally be. "Her name's Kugan the Astral Fox and guardian of the Uzumaki clan." "Hold on, Naruto, I'm coming," yelled out the amber-eyed Astral Fox as she raced towards Konoha as fast as she could. "Naruto, hide in that alley that's coming up ahead, then double back and head to a more populated area. You'll be safe if there's more people around." Naruto gladly took the advice and hid in the alley off to the side and waited until he heard the ninja run by. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief as he heard the ninja run by, and knowing that he was safe for now, he decided to ask something that's been troubling him ever since he left the library, which was, "Okay, who or whatever you are, I think an explanation and is in order." "Sorry kid, but I have no interest in telling you who I am right now," So for now just think of me as that little voice in the back of your head that's helping you along, said the mysterious voice. So, where should I go now? Asked Naruto as he peeked out of the alley to make sure it was safe before he walked out and started walking down the street. First, if you want to talk to me, just think it so you don't sound crazy, and second, I already told you what to do. So think, said the voice before going silent again. Guess I'm on my own from here, whispered Naruto as he headed back home while walking towards a more populated area of the village. Where did that brat get off to? Said the Junin that's been chasing Naruto while he stood on the edge of a rooftop to get a better look at the village. After a few minutes of looking around, he saw a bright orange blur walking in the street a little ways away with no one around. He then started to smirk as he said, "Damn, I can't possibly tell you how happy I am that you wear orange. It's as easy as finding a dot on a blank piece of paper," and with that he jumped down and headed for the orange blur in the streets. Wow, there really isn't anyone walking around the village today. They must all be at the village square finishing up with the festival decorations and stands, mused Naruto as he walked on the deserted street towards his apartment. Didn't I tell you already that you couldn't escape? Said an eerily familiar voice from behind Naruto. As Naruto heard the voice, he came to an abrupt stop before glancing down at his right hand as it began to acquire a thick layer of ice around it, until it formed into an ice claw over his real hand. Seeing how it seems that I can't run away, I might as well try and fight. I've been working on this technique for the last month. I can only use it once per day because of how much charca it takes up, but if I can hit him with it, he'll be severely injured no matter where I hit him, thought Naruto before turning around to face his assailant while hiding his now ice-clawed hand behind high back. So you're gonna take it like a man, very honorable, but since you're just a demon, I guess you don't have the right to be called honorable, yelled the Junin before running towards the immobile and neutral Naruto with a kunai. When the Junin came within range, Naruto leapt out at the surprised Junin with a yell as he shouted out, "Ice Claw," and slashed at the Junin's stomach. Seeing the oncoming attack, he easily sidestepped because of how much faster he was than Naruto. He isn't a Junin for nothing after all. As Naruto missed, he ended up slashing at the brick wall behind the Junin, leaving 5-6-inch long and 2-inch deep claw marks in the brick wall. But what really caught the Junin's attention and made his eyes widen was that within about a 1-foot radius around the slash marks, everything froze, then suddenly cracked and fell to the ground as frozen pieces of its former self. As the Junin came out of his surprise, he stated, thinking with narrowed eyes, "I thought that this kid was supposed to be a dead last, but that last attack could have easily taken me out if it hit. This kid really is dangerous, and who knows what else he's hiding, all the more reason to kill him now. Now what am I supposed to do? I got nothing left," said Naruto in between pants as he turned around to look at the narrowed eyes of the Junin, while he raised his kunai and walked slowly over towards him. "I can't die, not here, not now, not by the hands of one of these pathetic humans. I won't let him. He's like the rest of the villagers that hate me without a reason, kills me," thought Naruto, and the more he thought about how everyone hated him, the angrier he felt towards himself for letting them get away with it. But most of all, he felt hatred towards the villagers that hated him. "I hate you," said Naruto quietly as he hung his head down and let his bangs cover his eyes. "Speak up, kid, I couldn't hear you," said the Junin with a smirk as he stopped about 6 feet in front of Naruto. Naruto just started to growl a little as he felt his anger intensify before looking up at the Junin with amber-slitted eyes while yelling out, "I hate you and everyone like you." And with that last rush of intense hatred and anger, Naruto felt it again in the pit of his stomach. He felt that cold and chilling sensation from 2 months ago run throughout his body as he felt his body pulse and change for the second time. "Wow, what's happening?" exclaimed the Junin as he took a step back while watching Naruto change. When Naruto was finished transforming, his hair was now white, silver, whichever you prefer. He now had claws, and a dark purple, almost blue crescent moon in the middle of his forehead. He was missing a few things compared to the last time he transformed, which only meant that even though he transformed, it wasn't a complete transformation. "This power, it's just like last time, but I feel as if it's not complete. Even if it isn't, I should still be able to save myself now that I have it," said Naruto as he looked at his clawed hands in astonishment and fascination. The Junin just couldn't help but to stare at the now transformed Naruto before narrowing his eyes and saying, "So you've finally decided to show your true form, demon? I honestly do not know what I am, but what I do know is that you won't be leaving here alive. said Naruto calmly with a blank expression as he slowly dragged his now light almost neon green glowing claws across the brick wall to his right, and as he dragged his now light green glowing claws across the wall, there was a light sizzling sound that caught the Junin's attention, and as he looked more carefully he saw that Naruto's claws weren't cutting but melting the brick wall because of some powerful acidic poison coming from his claws. When Naruto finished dragging his claws across the brick wall, there were now 5 melted claw marks there. Naruto took a quick glance at his light green glowing claws and thought, "That's interesting," while they went back to normal before holding his hand straight out while pointing to the Junin as a glowing red demonic aura surrounded him as he said, "Freeze." Not a moment later a gust of cold wind blew across the area, and following right after was everything in a 3-meter radius of Naruto freezing. The Junin sensed the danger and immediately jumped back far enough to escape being frozen. Without even missing a beat, Naruto ran at him at high Chunin speed and caught him off guard, but the Junin still managed to dodge given his experience and superior speed. "You're strong, kid, I'll admit that. But all that strength proves along with that demonic aura you're admitting is that you really are a demon, and knowing that makes this so much easier," said the Junin, who resumed his overly dramatic slow walk towards Naruto with a kunai in hand. This guy must have a thing for dramatics considering that slow walk of his, thought a slightly agitated Naruto before he suddenly felt overwhelmingly tired, started swaying a little, his eyes started to close as his vision became blurry, and his appearance started changing in between his current one and his original. "What's happening to me?" said Naruto out loud. "You're not used to using so much power, and because of that your body needs rest in order to recuperate, but with more training in that form and you'll not have to worry about this happening again. If there even is a next time. Don't worry, Kugen's finally here." "Good, because I don't know if I can stay awake much longer," said Naruto as he struggled to stay awake. "Time to finish this," yelled the Junin as he raised the kunai in the air and brought it down on the now original blonde-haired form of Naruto. But before he could stab Naruto there was a sudden flash of yellow light and Naruto was gone. "What? Where'd he go?" shouted the Junin before turning around only to see a large light golden yellow dog-sized fox with brown-tipped ears, a brown-tipped tail, brown paws, and white fur on its stomach standing a few meters away looking down at a now sleeping Naruto. "You're Kugen, aren't you? You're late," said Naruto as he looked up at Kugen before falling asleep. "You're safe now, Naruto. Now that I'm here you'll never be alone again, and I promise that I'll always protect you," spoke Kugen softly as she looked down at the sleeping boy. "Now as for you," said Kugen dangerously as she turned to face the Junin with narrowed eyes. "Who and just what are you? Some kind of demon?" sneered the Junin as he looked at Kugen. "My name is Tenko Kugen and I am the guardian of the Uzu." "No, I am the guardian of only Naruto Uzumaki, and as for your second question, the answer is yes and no, I am a demon born with divine powers, which is why I admit no demonic aura. You would know that already if you bothered to sense it for yourself. How can you be a demon yet admit no demonic aura? It's impossible. I honestly do not know how myself, but because of my divine-like powers I was considered to be a new breed of fox demon among my peers. I was and still am the only demon in existence to ever be impervious to spiritual attacks because of my non-existent demonic aura. My fellow fox demons even stopped considering me a demon and gave me a new title to describe my divine powers. They gave me the title of Astral Fox. Well, whatever or whoever the hell you are, you can either move out of the way or die with the kid. You seem to be mistaken because the one who is about to die is you," roared Kugen as she lunged at the Junin with unimaginable speed and slashed him in the chest with her razor-sharp claws. "Damn, it's fast, but at least it's only a shallow wound," said the Junin as he grabbed his bleeding chest. "I'll end this in one shot, so prepare yourself," shouted out the Junin as he went through a series of hand seals before shouting out, "Dragon Fire Jutsu," and creating a huge stream of fire that shot of his mouth towards Kugen. "Pathetic," whispered Kugen as she unleashed a mighty roar with enough power behind it to create a shock wave that dispersed the fire jutsu easily. "No way. Such power and not even a hint of demonic chakra. She really does have divine power," spoke the Junin as he backed up a little. "I think it's about time I transformed into my human form and end this quickly before whatever type of security this village possesses shows up," said Kugen as she took a deep breath before she started to glow a bright white light. When the light faded, a young girl who looked to be in her early 20s or late teens with long blonde hair that went down to her tailbone, blonde furry fox ears with brown tips on top of her head, about 5'8" or 5'9", about a mid-C cup chest, white kimono shirt with long sleeves, white hakama, or samurai, style pants, a red sash-like belt tied in a bow in the front, and blue unopened toe ninja sandals. "It's been at least a century since I've last been in a human form," said Kugan as she stretched out a little. "But like I said, I must end this quickly, so I hope you have no regrets, human," said Kugan with narrowed eyes as she raised her right hand in the air so her palm was facing the sky before moving her raised arm in circular motions as she said, "4 of yesterday, 2 of yesterday, 3 of tomorrow," before hurling her arm down and shouting out, "Now die," as a huge serpent-like dragon made out of blue lightning descended down from the sky, hitting the screaming Junin head-on, causing a large explosion and creating a crater about 4 feet deep and 10 feet wide in the middle of the stone street. As the dust cleared, the only thing left of the Junin was his headband, a few scrapes of burnt clothes, and the black ashes in the spot where he was standing. "The humans will be here any moment. I can already smell their scents getting closer," said Kugan as she walked towards Naruto and picked him up with his head resting on her shoulder. "Kyuubi, I know that you can hear me, so tell where his home is, now." Alright, just keep your voice down, I'm trying to get some shut-eye over here. I'll give you the directions, so just listen up." As Kyuubi gave her the directions, she took off right away, considering that she wanted to get out of there before the ninja came. "What in the world is that?" said the old third Hokage of Konohagakure. He was wearing the traditional white and red Hokage robes along with the matching hat that had the kanji for fire shadow on it. He was currently looking out the window while watching a serpent-like dragon-shaped lightning bolt hit the ground, and not too much earlier he sensed a large surge of chakra come from where the strange bolt of lightning hit. "Inu," called out the Hokage as he turned around. "Hi Hokage-sama," spoke a man coming out of the shadows with spiky gravity-defying silver hair, wearing an Anbu porcelain dog mask, navy blue long-sleeved armor-plated shirt, matching pants, armor-plated navy blue gloves, about 6 feet, a katana strapped to his back, and blue open-toed ninja sandals. "Has a team been dispatched yet to take care of this possible threat?" "Yes sir, Neko's team left already, followed by my own team, and speaking of them, I should probably get back to them, sir." "Very well, report back as soon as possible." Dismissed. And with that order, Inu disappeared into the shadows with plans of catching up to his team. With a sigh, the old Hokage turned back towards the window and said, "It's been about 50 years since I last saw that technique, and there's only one person I know that can do it." Flashback. "You've gotten yourself into another fine mess, Sarutobi," said an early 20-year-old version of the third Hokage, who was wearing black battle-ready pants, long-sleeve shirt with metal guards on his forearm, and a helmet with the Konoha symbol on it. The young future Hokage was currently surrounded by 6 of the Stone Village's top Junin. He already killed 4 of the original 10 and wasn't sure if he could finish off the last 6, but it would seem as if luck was on his side that day, because out of nowhere storm clouds started to form, and without warning 2 large serpent-like dragons made out of blue lightning descended down from the sky, hitting the 2 groups of 3 Junin on each side of him, effectively killing the 2 Junin who were hit directly and knocking out the other 4 Junin because of the shockwave and severe electrical burns they received. "What the hell just happened?" exclaimed a surprised Sarutobi as he looked around until he locked eyes with large light golden yellow dog-sized fox, with brown-tipped ears, a brown-tipped tail, brown paws, and white fur on its stomach. The fox was standing on a hill about 10 meters away and staring right back. "Are you the one who helped me, friend?" "Yes I am, but don't think too much into it. After all, the only reason I helped you was because those ninja were in my territory." "Then why didn't you attack me as well?" asked Sarutobi curiously. "Because I can sense an unusually kind heart in you. And also you're a leaf ninja, which means you're one of the ninja who inadvertently helped me protect my territory from unwanted guests, like other ninja, and because of that I decided to lend you my assistance," spoke the fox before turning around and preparing to leave. "Wait, can you at least tell me your name?" shouted Sarutobi, and causing the fox to turn back around with a grin. "My name is Tenko Kugan, the astral fox. Thank you for helping me, Tenko-sama, and my name is Sasuke Sarutobi," said Sarutobi with a light bow. "Hey, thank you, by a human. Now there's something I don't hear every day." "Well, anyway, you're welcome, Sarutobi-san," said Kugan with a light smirk. I look forward to crossing paths with you again someday, Tenko-sama, shouted Sarutobi as he watched the disappearing image of Kugan. I look forward to it as well, Sarutobi, shouted back Kugan with a laugh before completely disappearing. End flashback. Just why are you here, Tenko? Kugan the astral fox. What is your purpose? Said Sarutobi as he kept looking out the window as if to find something. There was definitely a battle here, I mean just look at all this damage, spoke Inu as he gave a quick overlook of the area. Thanks for pointing out the obvious, Inu, said an Anbu wearing a cat mask with long purple hair. So any trace of survivors? Called out Inu curiously. No, but we did find this headband. It's probably the only thing left of the leaf ninja that fought here, said an Anbu as he handed over the scorched headband to Inu. Whoever did this definitely had quite a bit of power to create such a large crater, said Neko as she walked to the crater left by the lightning dragon. Well, I guess we're done here. I mean, there really isn't anything else here to look over now that we've confirmed the death of a fellow ninja, said an Anbu as he looked towards Inu. Yeah, we might as well report back to the Hokage even though there isn't too much to report, said Neko. Yeah, let's get back and send in a cleanup crew before anyone sees all this damage, said Inu before him and the rest of the Anbu left the area. So this is where he lives, it's better than I expected, said Kugan as she opened up the door to Naruto's apartment and headed into the bedroom before placing him in the bed and taking a look around. Kugan was very interested in Naruto home considering that she's never been in a modern-day village, let alone a modern-day house, apartment with all the appliances. She preferred to stay up in the mountains away from humans where she could live peacefully and quietly. Not saying she wouldn't come down once in a while to play some tricks on people, she is a fox after all. So now that she was met with these fascinating new objects, she did what any curious fox would do and began to explore and test the strange new devices out. As Kugan entered the kitchen, she walked over to the stove and looked at it curiously before turning the switch and hearing a strange clicking sound. What's that noise? Said Kugan as she bent her head down so her ear was right over the burner. Then without warning a fire suddenly popped, making Kugan jump back with a shriek as her hair and ear got singed. OWW, that hurt, she said with a pout as she rubbed the side of her face that got singed. She then walked carefully back towards the stove and started playing with it. Once she got bored, she walked over towards the refrigerator, freezer, and opened up the freezer door on top only to be met with a chilling gust of cold air. Wow, it's cold in there. Maybe I'll sleep in here during the summer, said Kugan as she rubbed her chin a little before closing it and walking towards the living room. What's this strange box for? Asked Kugan as she began tapping on the TV until she accidentally hit the power button and the TV came on with a loud boom. Because of an explosion from the movie that was on, causing Kugan to again cry out in surprise as she jumped behind the couch. After a few moments she decided to peek over the couch and with a couple of blinks she cautiously reapproached the TV and began tapping it again as she said, "How are all those people in there? Hey, can you hear me in there? Could you tell me how you got in there?" Kugan waited a few moments for an answer, but when she didn't get one she just looked at the TV angrily and started over to the couch. What's this?" she said as she grabbed the remote from under here and started to change the channels. "Wow. They're like little moving pictures," said Kugan excitedly as she began watching TV and constantly changing channels for the rest of the night. Where am I?" said Naruto as he woke up and looked around the room. "This is my apartment, but how did I get here? Don't you remember? Kugan saved your ass, kid." "That's right. Hey, why's the TV on?" asked Naruto as he got out of bed and went into the living room only to see a beautiful young blonde-haired girl wearing what looked like a priestess outfit sitting on his couch and watching TV. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" asked Naruto sternly. "Oh, you're awake, Naruto," said Kugan as she turned around to see the young boy. As she turned around, a pair of golden fox ears with brown tips pop up on her head out of her hair, and when Naruto saw those his eyes widened in surprise as he whispered, "Kugan." "Yup. I'm Tenko Kugan the Astral Fox and your personal guardian and new best friend." "You want to be my friend?" Naruto said with slightly widened eyes before he looked down at the floor. "What's wrong?" asked Kugan curiously as she tilted her head to the side. "It's just that I've never had a friend before," said a surprised Naruto as he looked up at Kugan. Kugan just looked at the sad boy with a soft expression as she got up, walked over towards him, and then enveloped him in a tight and comforting embrace. "You've had a hard life, haven't you, Naruto? but I promise you now that I'm here I'll always be by your side and I'll always protect you, said Kugen quietly as she rested her chin on top of Naruto's head. You really mean that? Asked Naruto hopefully as he buried his head in her chest. Yes I do, but enough of all this sadness. After all today's your birthday isn't it? Replied Kugen as she gently peeled Naruto of her and stood up. How did you know that? Because I just do. Now there's a festival going on today by the looks of things I saw yesterday night. I usually do not partake in the Kyuubi festival on the account of how everyone seems to hate me much more on this day, said Naruto calmly with an unemotional expression. Since Naruto didn't think he'd have to act like a fool around Kugen, he decided to be himself, which was a much smarter, calmer, more serious, and less emotional type of personality than her normally shows. That's a pretty good vocabulary for one so young, Naruto. Where did you learn to talk like that? Asked Kugen curiously, seeing how she never heard a child like Naruto talk with such maturity. I learned through reading and listening in on conversations. Okay. Well anyway, the first thing we have to do today is get you some new clothes. What's wrong with my clothes? There are so many things wrong with them I won't even begin to explain why they're bad, said Kugen as she gave him a blank stare. Which is why I got you this, said Kugen happily as she gave Naruto a medium-sized wrapped-up box. What is it? Asked Naruto as he took it. It's a present silly, so open it. I've never gotten a present before, said Naruto as he opened it up, which only made Kugen grimace at how his life has been so far. When Naruto looked inside the box, he saw a smaller version of what Kugen was wearing, except the shirt was navy blue and the pants were black. Happy 6th birthday, Naruto-kun, shouted Kugen happily as she pushed him into his room because she wanted him to put the new clothes on right away. So how'd I look? Asked Naruto as he came out of his room now wearing his new clothes. Thank you for the present, Kugen, it's the first one I ever received. You're welcome, Naruto, but now let's go out to the festival. It's already, wow, 2 p.m. You've really been sleeping for a while, Naruto. Naruto just nodded as he looked at himself in the mirror while he tried to get a feel for his new clothes. Come on, Naruto, let's go, exclaimed Kugen as she picked him up and placed him on her shoulders, causing Naruto to yell out in surprise as she walked out the door. Hey Kugen, like I told you before, I'm not exactly liked, said Naruto as he rested his chin on Kugen's head, but was interrupted by Kugen as she said, if anyone tries to harm you or even dares to treat you wrongly, I'll kill them no matter who they are, said Kugen so seriously Naruto couldn't help but be taken back by this unusually serious tone of Kugen. Thanks Kugen, Kugen, you should probably hid your ears, said Naruto trying to lighten the mood. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, said Kugen sheepishly as her ears seemed to retract back into her head. The rest of the day Naruto and Kugen spent eating at the stands and playing games. It was finally past sunset and they were both currently lying on their backs in the park next to a pond. They were just relaxing and watching the fireworks currently going off in the night sky. During the whole afternoon no one really recognized Naruto in his new clothes, and also anyone that did were either too drunk to care or having too much fun to bother with it. Or it could have been because of the rumors spreading around about what Kugen did earlier and civilians were just too afraid to do anything or say anything to them because of it. Flashback, 2:30 p.m. Naruto and Kugen just arrived at the festival in the center of the village. The place was alive with life, people playing games, eating at stands, children were running around, and buying little trinkets to remember the day. Wow, hey Naruto, what's that? Said Kugen excitedly as she pointed to a game that consisted of hitting a metal plate with a large mallet in order to see how high a person could make a small metal ball on a pole which was connected to the metal plate. Go. Forgot the name of the game. It's a game. Let's play it then, it looks like a lot of fun, exclaimed Kugen as she gently took Naruto of her shoulders and put him down on the cobblestone street before approached the game stand. Hey Kugen, do you even have money to pay for the game? Of course I do. How else do you think I bought that present for you? Anyway, I traded in a small bag of gold coins at a place called Bank of Konoha. They gave me back so much money I decided to open up something they called a savings account and left basically all of my money in there. I only brought this much with me, do you think it's enough? Asked Kugen as she stopped walking and pulled out a small stuffed purse from inside her shirt to show to Naruto. When Naruto saw what was inside the purse, his eyes widened as he saw, I'm going to be using USA money. A bunch of bills all ranging from 20s to hundreds. Just how much money did you get? I received $50,000 altogether. I have 1,000 on me and the rest in my account. Why is that a lot? Asked Kugan innocently. Yes, Kugan, that is a lot. So I have enough money with me then? You have more than enough, said Naruto with a slight twitch of his eyebrow. Then come on, let's play, exclaimed Kugan as she approached the game with Naruto following closely behind. What are you doing here, boy? Said the average middle-aged looking game clerk as he saw Naruto approach the game behind Kugan. He's here to play, do you have a problem with that? Asked Kugan dangerously as she eyed the civilian. Why do you care, girl? Because I'm his very close friend and I won't allow you to treat him like a second-rate citizen. I can treat that boy any way I want, responded the man as he chose his words carefully and didn't say anything that could hint towards the demon fox in Naruto. Because it was a known fact that Naruto always had at least 2 Anbu watching out for him, and they had orders to take anyone that so much as hinted of the fox's existence to Naruto off to have a not-so-nice conversation with either the 3rd Hokage or Ibiki, who is the head of the torture and interrogation unit. So you refuse to let Naruto play? Said Kugan with narrowed eyes. Yes, I see, said Kugan as she walked over towards the mallet leaning on the side of the game and then gingerly picked up with one hand before out of nowhere hurling it at the completely surprised man. Because the mallet was thrown with such force it sent him flying back into a brick wall, causing spider web cracks when he hit it. When he slid down off the wall he had a blank expression and was barely breathing. What happened didn't go unnoticed by everyone in the area, and they all couldn't help but watch with wide eyes as some actually stood up for that little monster. Come on Naruto, let's go find something else to do, exclaimed Kugan, who was now back in her normal cherry mood as she started walking away as if nothing ever happened. Naruto just stared at the scene dumbly for a moment before catching up with Kugan, who was happily walking through the street looking for something fun to do or something good to eat, and that's when she smelt and saw a cake stand, making her have a starry-eyed expression as she grabbed Naruto and ran toward the cake stand while screaming, "Cake! Cake! Cake! Cake!" until she got there and ordered both herself and Naruto a half a sheet worth of cake each. As they found a place to sit, Kugan dug into her cake happily as Naruto could only think she really must like cake, before looking down at his own half a sheet worth of chocolate cake and thinking with a sigh as he started eating too, does she really expect me to finish this? At least she bought us both some milk too, thought Naruto again as he looked at the bottle of milk next to him. On the roof of a building a little ways away stood 2 Anbu, one with a cat mask and the other with a dog mask. Shouldn't we arrest her, Inu? No, the guy's still barely alive, so we should be more worried about getting him to the hospital ASAP. What do you mean no? I mean that it's about time that someone did. We aren't allowed to and stand up for Naruto. But look at what she did. Fine, if you want to arrest her so badly, go ahead, but you're the one that's going to have to tell Naruto why we're arresting the only real friend he's ever had, because she had enough of a backbone to stand up for him on his birthday, said Inu with narrowed eyes behind his dog mask. Neko just sighed as she silently agreed with Inu. I'm not trying to say that what she did was right or that she didn't go overboard, but the guy won't die if we take him to the hospital now, and willing to overlook it just this once because she's standing up for Naruto and also because the guy's not dead yet. We probably should get down there now before he does die, said Neko, and with that they both disappeared in a swirl of leaves only to reappear next to the unconscious body before disappearing again in a swirl of leaves only to appear in front of Konoha's General Hospital. End flashback. Hey Naruto, could you do me a favor and go by the pond over there? Asked Kugan as she stood up and walked over towards the pond with Naruto following closely behind. Naruto, look in the water and tell me what you see, said Kugan seriously as she stood to his right. Naruto just looked at her curiously before doing as he was asked. What do you see, Naruto? Nothing but my reflection, Kugan. At hearing that, Kugan couldn't help but let out a disappointed sigh as she turned around and thought, I guess I was wrong. He's only a half demon and not the full thing like the legend said. I guess that child hasn't been born yet. And that's when Kugan looked up at the full moon and started to smirk as she whispered, of course. Naruto, I want you to look at the water again, said Kugan as she moved to his left so the moonlight could touch down on him and the water in front of him. Naruto just sighed before looking at the water again and only to again see his reflection. Kugan, I still don't see anything, said Naruto with a frown. Naruto, I want you to look harder, spoke Kugan with a serious expression as she pointed to the water. Naruto just sighed again before going down on all fours and looking into the pond harder. After a few moments there were a few ripples in the water and Naruto was no longer looking at his own reflection but the reflection of an adult regal-looking male with long white hair, pointed ears, and the same markings he saw on himself 2 months ago. "Who is that?" asked Naruto with wide eyes. "So I was right after all. You're not just merely a half-demon or even a full demon. You're a complete demon." "Things are about to get more interesting," said Kugen with a smirk. "What? You are like me and the 9 Baiju Naruto. Unlike a full demon that does not have a human form and only possesses inferior or minor demonic powers as well as having a limit on how long they can live, you are a complete demon, a demon with a human form, superior power, and no limit on how long you can live," explained Kugen excitedly. But how?" stuttered out a slightly frightened Naruto because of finding out that he may not be human. "Because you are his reincarnation." "Whose reincarnation?" "Lord Sesshomaru's, the former ruler of the Western lands who was even feared by Kyuubi no Kitsune himself." "So I'm a demon," said Naruto with a downcasted look. "Well, actually you're a human right now. Your demonic blood is, how should I say, dormant. I guess that would be a good way of explaining it. But we'll talk about that later. Right now I want to see if I can find something, so I need you to be perfectly calm and still okay, Naruto?" asked Kugen as she knelt down, closed her eyes, and touched her head to his, making Naruto blush a little at the close proximity. "Just relax," whispered Kugen. When Kugen opened her eyes she found herself in what seemed to be a sewer with dim lights on the walls, but the strangest thing was that there was a huge cage in front of her with a piece of paper in the middle that had the kanji for seal on it. "You weren't the one I was looking for, Kyuubi," said Kugen with a smirk as she saw an enormous crimson fox, with 9 tails, and a pair of 2 large red eyes with slit pupils open up in front her. "So my dear sister has decided to pay me visit, huh? So what do you want?" asked Kyuubi with narrowed eyes. "Actually I wasn't looking for you, little brother," replied Kugen as she walked through the bars of the cage completely unafraid of the monstrous crimson fox that stood before her with narrowed crimson slit eyes. "So then just who were you looking for, Kugen Ni-chan?" asked the Lord of all Demons with narrowed eyes as he lowered his head to the floor, so that he was now staring at her directly in the face. "Just who else could be in this lovely place?" asked the crimson fox sarcastically. "No one that you need to know of, but while I'm waiting for him to show himself I just have to ask, what exactly are you up to, little brother? I know you're not as nice as you've been pretending to be so far." "You are the 9-tailed fox, the most evil and blood-lusting creature to ever walk this earth after all," spoke Kugen with narrowed eyes as she stared down the much larger creature in front of her. "I never could hide anything from you, Ni-chan," spoke Kyuubi with a smirk. "So why were you being nice to the child?" "Because I wasn't in the mood to die. After all, if I didn't help the kid he would have died and me along with him, and besides I've actually grown fond of him. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't escape from this prison even if it meant that I would kill him if I was given the chance," said the fox with a smirk. "I see," whispered Kugen. "Either way though, I'll make sure that you never get out of this, child. I won't allow you to kill him," spoke out Kugen with the utmost seriousness as she looked at him with a serious and powerful gaze. Kyuubi just growled dangerously before yelling out, "Have you forgotten who you're talking to?" while standing at his full height, making Kugen look up to him. "I am Kyuubi no Kitsune. No prison can hold me forever, not even one made by the Shinigami," roared out Kyuubi as he slammed his giant paw down on Kugen, who just stood there without even an ounce of fright as the paw slammed down on her. Kyuubi just smirked as he looked at the paw used to crush his elder sister and send her back into her own body. A moment later Kyuubi's paw was hurled off of Kugen because of an explosion of blue fire around her, and as it died down it revealed Kugen to be completely unharmed as she stood there with her arms crossed as sparks of crackling blue electricity appeared around her every few moments due to the excess energy. "You should know better, little brother. Your malicious chakra can never break through my spiritual barrier. You're just as strong if not stronger than you used to be, Ni-chan," said Kyuubi as he looked at his smoking paw. "We were born as opposites after all. We were meant to keep the balance of power. I was the first and only demon to ever be born with spiritual power and no demonic aura. I possess the very powers of heaven and have all the elements at my disposal. You on the other hand, were born with the most malicious and blood-lusting demonic aura ever to be seen even among demons. You were born with the very powers of hell. Your power was so malicious even mother and father were wary of you. As much as I enjoy your little story about our powers, I have to ask, was it really necessary?" asked Kyubi in a bored tone. Oh, that explanation wasn't for you, little brother, it was for the demon standing behind us, said Kugan cryptically. Kyubi just looked at her questioningly before speaking again. Either way, for whatever reason you're here. The fact is that the boy will undoubtedly call upon my power more and more, and the more he uses it the weaker the seal will become until it comes to a point where I can finally break through. No, you will not, said a calm deep voice from behind them. When they heard the voice they both turned around, but Kugan already knew who it was and couldn't help but smirk as she looked at the newcomer that was standing on the other side of the cage with an emotionless expression. He was about 6'2", with long straight white hair, the same markings as Naruto, pointed ears, amber slit eyes, a long white fur pelt wrapped around his right shoulder, and a chest plate on his left with teeth coming out of it. He was also wearing white pants, black boots, and a white kimono shirt with red blocks of color at the hem of his sleeves and at his collar. There were also a few hexagons at the edge of the pattern with small flowers inside which was dyed white in order to be noticed. Lord Sesshomaru, I was wondering when you would show yourself. Impossible, whispered Kyubi with wide eyes. I killed you. Yes you did, but I was reincarnated into this child, Naruto Uzumaki, my descendant, and because of that my soul was drawn to his body. Allow me to point out that the only reason you were able to kill Lord Sesshomaru was because he was wounded in a fight after killing the former seven-tailed wolf and five-tailed dog that you sent after him. Yelled Kugan with narrowed eyes, causing Kyubi and Lord Sesshomaru to think back to that day. Flashback, about 500 years ago. In a large clearing, a monstrous-sized white dog with a blue crescent moon on its forehead and a large gash on its side that was bleeding profusely was standing over an equally monstrous-sized seven-tailed wolf and five-tailed dog. What could have provoked the seven-tailed wolf and five-tailed dog into attacking me? Questioned the dog in between pants. So they failed to kill you, but at least they managed to wound you. I guess I'll just have to finish the job, spoke the legendary Kyubi no Kitsune as he entered the clearing seemingly out of nowhere. I should have known it was you. After all, you already killed off the other three Hades kings, meaning with me finally gone the Baiju will have total control over the demon world instead of having to share it with us, spoke the dog calmly as he cautiously watched the fox circle him. It wasn't a secret in the demon world that Kyubi was wary of Lord Sesshomaru. After all, he was the only other demon to reach the same level of Kyubi, and given the fact that Kyubi had no interest in a potential confrontation with someone his own level, he sent the seven-tailed wolf five-tailed dog after him in hopes of wounding him severely so he could wrap it up himself. Unfortunately for Lord Sesshomaru, it worked. Ah, how the mighty have fallen. So any last words, Lord Sesshomaru, Lord of the Western Lands and last of the four Hades kings? Mocked the fox with a sickening grin as he started to concentrate an unimaginable amount of demonic energy in his mouth. Even if you kill me today, you still won't be able to reach your goal. I think the blood loss has made you delusional, because with you gone marks the end of the Hades kings, also known as the four peacekeepers, which enables myself and the other Baiju to raise an army of demons and to start a war with the humans where the winner takes all, and the all, in this case, is the world, said the giant fox with an evil smirk. So with that said, I'm curious to what makes you believe that I'll fail? Questioned the fox skeptically as he looked at the wounded dog in front of him. I, along with the other former three kings, have known what you've been planning for some time now, and because of that we took the necessary precautions to protect this world from such a war by creating the boundary. What? Roared Kyubi before calming down as he said, you had me going for a second there, but not even the Hades kings can cast such a powerful spell. You would need help from someone with an unimaginable amount of spiritual power, said the fox with a slight pause and widened eyes at the end before whispering, Kugan. Correct. Kyubi couldn't help but let out an annoyed growl as he thought of how far back his plans have just been pushed because of the creation of the boundary. As Sesshomaru saw the irate look of Kyubi, he knew his time was up and decided to say one more thing before he left this world. My descendant that inherits all of my abilities will take my place as the new lord of the Western Lands and bring back order to the chaotic world of demons that you have caused by killing off the other three Hades kings, spoke Sesshomaru calmly as he awaited the inevitable death blow that was sure to come by Kyubi soon. Since he knew he couldn't defend himself against a demon like Kyubi considering his condition, he decided to keep whatever honor he had left and take it like a real demon lord should. I'll make sure to kill him before he reaches that level as well, now die. And with that final declaration, Kyuubi sent a massive wave of highly condensed chakra from his mouth shooting out towards Sesshomaru, where it connected and obliterated everything it touched. As Sesshomaru saw the blast coming for him, he could only close his eyes and think, "Goodbye Rin. You were the first person I ever truly loved." About a mile away stood a young woman in her late 20s with long jet black hair, wearing an orange checkered kimono, and hiding behind a tree while silently crying as she looked down at her stomach and whispered, "Lord Sesshomaru, I promise I'll keep your legacy safe. And I'll help you. I'll take up the role of guardian of your clan and watch over it until someone is born with the power to take Lord Sesshomaru's place," said a young blonde-haired woman as she put a comforting hand on Rin's shoulder. "Thank you, Tenko-sama." End flashback. So this child really is your descendant then? Well, in that case I guess I'll have to try extra hard to get out in order to make sure he never takes your place and brings back the 4 Hades kings. It was a pain in my ass to get rid of them in the first place, said Kyuubi with a scowl as he thought of how infuriatingly ironic it was to be locked away inside of the reincarnation of the demon he killed and the demon he promised to kill, so he would never reach the level of the former Lord of the West. But considering his current predicament, he couldn't help but sigh as he said, "My plans to rule the world just keep getting thrown back. It's really fucked up. As long as the two of us are here, you will never break the seal, Ni-san. Also, the boy will resurrect the 4 Hades kings and finally put the 9 Baiju in their place like the former kings used to do. I'll make sure of it," said Kugan mainly to herself as she watched her brother disappear back into the darkness of the cage. "I assume you will be teaching the boy to awaken his demonic blood so he won't have to be in a weak human body too much longer. You will also be training him, yes?" questioned Sesshomaru as he looked directly at Kugan. "Yes, I will, but what about you?" asked Kugan with a quizzically raised eyebrow. "Aren't you going to teach him anything, seeing as how I don't know all of your abilities well enough to use them, let alone teach them? I have no interest in making contact with the child as of now, and because of that, any ability I wish for him to learn I will simply tell you how to do it in order to explain it to him. Why make things so complicated? Because I don't teach." With an answer like that, Kugan couldn't help but give him a blank stare before releasing a light sigh and saying, "Well, I guess that's all I really needed to know then. So until next time, see you later, Lord Sesshomaru," and with those final words Kugan began to disappear. Farewell, Tenko Kugan, the Astral Fox and Demon Lord of the Elements. "Sue, how about a game of chess?" "I have nothing better to do, I suppose," answered Sesshomaru as he walked over to the extremely large chessboard which had the white side outside the cage next to Sesshomaru and black side inside the cage next to Kyuubi. "No hard feelings about the whole killing you thing, right?" asked Kyuubi, who only received a blank stare from Sesshomaru before he moved one of his pawns and began the game. Kyuubi could only sigh at the lack of response before moving one of his pieces with his paw and thinking about how awkward things would be with Sesshomaru around now. As Kugan opened her eyes, she noticed Naruto was staring at her quizzically, because for him it's only been a few seconds even though she's been in his mind for at least the last half an hour. "I didn't really notice this before, but your pupils aren't slits and your eyes are blue instead of amber like they were when I saw you in your demon fox form. What can I say, I have different eye colors in my human form and demon form," said Kugan with a shrug as she gave Naruto a quick peck on the cheek, making him turn crimson from embarrassment before he averted his gaze to the ground. Kugan could only smile as she saw his reaction before she stood back up to her full height and began walking back towards the apartment with Naruto following close behind while he still kept his gaze to the ground. "Tomorrow you go back to school, right, Naruto?" "Hi. Good, because I'll be going with you to school from now on in order to help you out." Naruto just simply nodded as he tried to hide his joy by not taking his eyes off the ground, leaving his smirk hidden. "It's going to be interesting tomorrow when everyone sees Kugan." Naruto called out Kugan as she kept walking ahead. "Yes? Starting tomorrow you will no longer act like a fool in school, even if you are just attempting to deceive everyone. The cunning fox favors deception, Kugan." "I suppose so," said Kugan with a light smirk. "Very well then, Naruto. I'll let you keep up your charade until the graduation exams, on one condition." "What is it?" "You have to act yourself and stop being a clown. You have no idea how much disgrace you bring to your ancestors by acting in the way you have been. I'm not saying to show everyone what you're capable of, but just act yourself." "Agreed." Naruto just sighed as he watched Kugan run off in the wrong direction and said to himself, I better catch her, before taking off in the same direction. As Kugan was running, she couldn't help but think, I'll start training the boy tomorrow, and the first thing I'll do is see what elemental affinity he has. Also, I should start thinking about a good time to take him to retrieve Tenseiga and Tokjin from their hiding spots. They are rightfully his after all. Come on Naruto, what are you waiting for? Go on in, whispered a tiny golden fox on Naruto's shoulder as he stood outside his classroom in his new outfit, courtesy of Kugan. With a deep calming breath, Naruto whispered, well, here we go. And he opened up the door to his classroom where everyone's eyes were now on him. I guess Naruto's going to be late today, again, said Amino Iruka with a sigh as he watched the class of 5 and mostly 6-year-old students start to quiet down as they heard the bell that signaled the start of class, with the exception of one blonde loudmouth though. Iruka was the Chunin instructor for this year's class, and he was about 5 feet 10 inches, with an average build, had black hair, a scar across his nose, and wore the standard Chunin uniform, which consisted of a long-sleeved dark blue shirt, a dark green vest, dark blue pants, and blue open-toed ninja sandals. Alright class, quiet down and pay attention, today we're going to, started Iruka, but before he could finish, a little spiky-haired blonde boy with a goldenish yellow fox on his shoulder and wearing navy blue kimono shirt, black hakama pants, and a crimson sash around his waist tied into a normal bow knot opened the door and walked into the class with his head down. Everyone in the class, including Iruka, couldn't help but look at the new student curiously. When Iruka shook himself of his surprise, he approached the child and said, hello, are you a new student or did you just get lost? So you don't recognize me, Iruka-sensei? Iruka couldn't help but frown at that as he started to wonder if this kid really was one of his students. He had to admit to himself though, that the voice did sound familiar, and if he had to guess he would say that it was Naruto, but he knew that that was impossible. After all, the kid in front of him spoke with such a calm and unemotional voice that it just couldn't be that loud and obnoxious voice that was Naruto Uzumaki, not to mention the different clothes which looked to be silk, and clothes like that were definitely out of Naruto price range. With all that thinking, Iruka came to a conclusion about this kid as he thought himself, the kid must be from a wealthy family to have clothes like that, and he's obviously well-mannered and calm like a wealthy child would be. So just who could he be? Thought Iruka at the end. Just like all the other curious students watching the interaction between their sensei and this newcomer. Iruka-sensei, it's me, Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto as he looked up at Iruka, allowing him and everyone else to get a good look at his face. When everyone saw his face, they couldn't help but release a gasp of surprise as they looked at how different he looked now with new clothes. What really caught everyone's attention though was his unusual calm expression instead of his usual happy and cheery one. At seeing everyone's surprised and speechless expressions, Naruto couldn't help but give the class one of his big foxy grins as he said, surprised huh? Before narrowing his eyes like a fox and grinning mischievously at everyone, then going back to his original calm expression. Seeing that foxy grin on his, Iruka couldn't help but smile as well as he thought, he may not be loud and obnoxious anymore, but he's still the same happy-go-lucky little kid that I've come know. Hey Naruto, what's up with the change of clothes and the attitude, man? Shouted out a feral-looking boy with red triangles on each side of his face with the point facing down, slit pupils, messy brown hair, gray hooded jacket with the hood up, grayish-brown pants that stopped a few inches above his ankles, a light gray puppy on top of his head, and blue open-toe shinobi sandals. I just got tired of wearing the same thing and decided that a change was in order, Kiba, replied Naruto. Hey Naruto, is that a real fox on your shoulder? Asked an excited Ino Yamanaka, who was a platinum blonde wearing a purple tank top, purple skirt, blue open-toed shinobi sandals, and white bandages covering the rest of her body that her clothes didn't. Yes, it is Ino. Okay, that's enough questions for now. Naruto, go take a seat so I can actually teach you kids something. Naruto listened and wordlessly took a seat next to Kiba, seeing as how it was the closest available seat. When Naruto took his seat, everyone in class would keep giving him suspicious glances every now and then, but he just dismissed it and tried to listen to what Iruka was saying. Hey, you're right, Akamaru. I can't believe I didn't notice it earlier, whispered Kiba to the puppy on top of his head before turning to Naruto. Hey Naruto. What? Your scent's changed since the last time I saw you. What do you mean? You used to smell like a fox, but now you smell more like a dog. There's still a small hint of fox on you, but the dog scent a lot more potent. What happened? Did you finally get tired of smelling like a stinking fox and roll around in some dog fur? Asked Kiba with a laugh as he patted his buddy on the back. Kugan couldn't help but start to growl dangerously at Kiba for the sinking fox comment, which made Akamaru growl right back at her. That little mutt called foxes smelly. I'm go on a mall, that little bastard, and his little dog too, thought Kugan as she started laughing evilly in her head before she stopped growling and looked at Kiba with narrowed eyes while she grinned and licked her chops evilly. Akamaru hid his head under his paws and started to whine as he saw Kugan look at them like that, while Kiba couldn't help but look at the fox nervously as he tried to back away in his chair because he never saw anything look at him like he was dinner before, and it definitely started to creep him out. It didn't help either as Kugan stood up on Naruto's shoulders and prepared to jump over to Kiba. Kiba couldn't help but look on with wide and fearful eyes as he saw a look that just screamed, "I'm going to eat you and enjoy it," look in Kugan's eyes. Right before Kugan could pounce on the fearful boy, Naruto grabbed her and with a sigh he put her in his lap and started rubbing her ears. While Naruto rubbed her ears, Kugan couldn't help but forget about the whole incident as she started purring lightly in contentment. "Sorry about that, Kiba, but Kugan doesn't like it when you insult foxes," said Naruto with a frown. Kiba just released his held breath, being happy to see that the homicidal little fox was no longer interested in him. "So is that fox your partner?" "My what?" asked Naruto as he raised a questioning eyebrow. "You know, a partner that helps fight alongside you like Akamaru and I." Naruto just looked at the little fox currently purring in his lap as a light smile crept onto his face before answering, "Yeah, I guess we are partners. Hey, maybe you and I can train together sometime, Naruto. You should really try and stop over to the Inuzuka compound. I'm sure my mom would be interested in why you smell so much like a dog," said Kiba with a big grin. "Maybe I will. Hey, enough chit-chat back there, you two." "Sorry, Iruka-sensei," said Naruto and Kiba lazily at the same time. The rest of the day went on like any other day. Naruto listened to Iruka lecture the class for a couple hours, then lunch came and all the students shuffled outside for lunch. Naruto sat at secluded table a ways away from everyone with his three only friends. As Naruto ate his rice balls that Kugan packed for him, he absently looked around the table to his three friends and started to think about each of them. First there was Kiba Inuzuka, aka Dogboy. He was sitting on the opposite side of the plain picnic-like table eating some chicken and rice while occasionally giving some to Akamaru, who accepted the food eagerly. Kiba was the heir to the Inuzuka clan, a clan that had dog-like features and even acted like them sometimes. The members of the clan also had dogs to help them fight in battle. Kiba himself, though, was a boisterous, wild, and arrogant individual. Then there was Shikamaru Nara. He was sitting to the left of Naruto eating a plain chicken sandwich. He had black hair that was tied up to look like a pineapple, one silver earring, a wire mesh shirt, a gray vest over it with a dull green on the edges, dark brown pants that stopped a little before his ankles, and finally the standard shinobi blue sandals. He was the heir to the Nara clan, a clan that specialized in shadow manipulation. Shikamaru, though, was an extremely smart yet lazy individual who would rather watch the clouds than do even the slightest bit of work. Then last but not least, Naruto looked at Choji Akamichi sitting on the right side of Kiba munching on a bag of potato chips happily. He was a rather large child that had brown hair, a white scarf, white shirt with his clan symbol in red on the front, a thin green short-sleeved jacket over it, dark brown shorts, and traditional blue open-toed shinobi sandals. Choji was the heir to the Akamichi clan, a clan that specialized in raw power and jutsu that revolved around their larger builds for their body expansion jutsus. They each had their own little quirks, but when the chips were down, Naruto knew he could count on any one of them to help him out. "So Naruto, what's with the new look?" asked Choji as he munched on some chips. "Not only that, but what's up with the change in personality too?" asked the lazy Nara as he watched Naruto's pet fox sleep under a tree while wanting to do the same. "I guess you can just say that I had some divine intervention," said Naruto calmly as he took a quick glance at Kugan, which didn't go unnoticed by the ever-lazy Nara. The three just looked at each other before shrugging it off and just thinking that Naruto may have somehow just matured a little and nothing more. The rest of the school day passed uneventful, and Naruto was now walking home with Kugan on his shoulders, which only gained many frowns from people who saw the demon fox container walking around with a fox on his shoulder. Everyone just knew that it had to be some kind of bad omen, but they just tried to pretend that they didn't even notice. When Naruto made it to his apartment, Kugen turned back to her human form and took a seat on the couch. "Hey Naruto, start packing up your stuff, we're moving into a house," shouted out Kugen. What, where, why? This place is too small for the both of us, so I bought us a house," exclaimed Kugen happily. Naruto just nodded silently as he went to go and pack up his few worldly possessions. When he finished packing up, Kugen put all the boxes into a few storage scrolls, much to Naruto's amazement, and headed out to their new home. Just like during the festival, everyone was looking at the Kugen curiously. After all, it wasn't every day that you saw a young woman dressed up like a priestess walking around the Leaf Village, especially not with Fox Brat. Naruto walked beside Kugen quietly as she led him through the main part of the village and about quarter of a mile through the forest, but still within Konoha walls. When they finally arrived to their destination, the two found themselves in front of a brand new nice-sized two-story Western-style house with a sign that said, "Sold," on the front yard. The house wasn't a huge mansion, clan, or estate-sized home, but it wasn't too small either, and besides, Naruto and Kugen didn't need something too big, seeing how it was just the two of them after all. As Naruto looked around the area, he noticed that Kugen picked a secluded area with many trees and grassy fields surrounding the house. "I picked this area because it reminds me of my old home in the mountains of Fire Country," said Kugen as she happily looked around the familiar setting with a smile. "I like it, there's a lot of room to train here, and I have to admit that I enjoy the fact of being far away from the main part of the village. The house also looks nice." "Thank you, Kugen," said Naruto with a light smile as he looked up towards Kugen, who smiled right back. "But I do have one question. Just how did you afford all this, and what about the paperwork with signing your name and all that stuff?" asked Naruto with a raised eyebrow. "I just gave some guy a bag full of gold and diamonds, and then he got these really wide eyes and said he'd do all the paperwork," said Kugen as she opened her eyes wide and started pointing to them in order to show Naruto just how wide the guy's eyes opened up, causing Naruto to sweat drop as he watched the girl's antics. "Now come on Naruto, let's go look around and get settled in," spoke Kugen as she picked Naruto up under her arm and ran excitedly into their new home. After about 2 hours of the two getting settled in and unpacking all their things, well, all of Naruto's things, they went outside to the backyard at Kugen's request. Kugen stood in front and held her arms straight out towards him with her palm facing up. While she did this, Naruto watched on in amazement as 5 small spherical balls started to appear over her palm. The balls each slowly took on a different color until they were each glowing brown, blue, red, white, and light blue. Now, each one of these represent a different element. "Okay Naruto?" asked Kugen and waited to move on until she received a nod from Naruto. "Okay, good, now listen closely. Brown represents earth, blue represents water, red represents fire, white represents wind, and light blue represents lighting. Each one is a different element, and I want you to touch each one." "Why?" "Because this will show us what elemental affinities you have when you touch each one. The ones you touch that don't disappear will be what elemental affinities you have, so come on, touch each one." Naruto complied as he cautiously touched brown one, which promptly disappeared. Then he touched the blue one, which stayed. Then the light blue one, which also stayed, and caused Kugen to raise an eyebrow at that unexpected elemental affinity. Then he touched the fire one, which promptly disappeared as well. And finally he touched the white one, which also stayed. Very interesting, Naruto. I only thought you had wind and water, not lightning too," said Kugen with a smirk as she thought about how odd it was for a human or even demon to have 3 affinities. Most just had 1 and maybe sometimes 2, but 3 was practically impossible to have. "Okay then, first things first, you know how to use chakra, correct?" "Hi. Good, that means I can skip the boring introduction to chakra and we can move on to chakra control. Before you say anything, I want you to know that I don't care about anything you know for the time being, because all we are going to be working on is chakra control until I think you're at an adequate level. When you reach that level, then I'll want to know what your own powers are so we can perfect those abilities. After we have perfected them, we'll move on to trying to get you to activate your semi-demon transformation state by your own will," finished Kugen as she looked at Naruto and waited for any questions he may have. "Don't you mean my complete demon transformation state?" "No, because you haven't unlocked that form yet, and first you must master your semi-demon form before you can even think about trying to transform into your complete demon form, understood?" "Perfectly. Good, then let's get started. first thing we going to do is tree climbing without any hands, spoke Kugan with a smirk as she saw Naruto's curious expression. Now let us begin your training, Naruto-kun. For the following 2 years Kugan made sure to train Naruto thoroughly in chakra control and other things such as jutsu, strength, speed, and his ability to transform into his semi-demon form, which he still couldn't fully get the hang of yet. As far as his schooling went over the last 2 years, well, he mostly just kept to himself, opting to break away from any ties he had with people. He also made sure to keep his abilities hidden and would always make sure to never be picked for spars, but the only thing that messed up his whole staying low was the fact that he always got perfect scores on all their tests, including practical tests such as jutsu, kunai, and or shuriken throwing. As much as Naruto didn't want to do it, something inside him just wouldn't allow him to demean himself to doing anything less than he was capable of. Thankfully, though, nobody even knew he was at the top of the class because of how quiet and unattached he was all the time that no one ever bothered to check on just how well he did. Also, the fact that Sasuke liked to show off a lot in spars or in his tests made everyone just assume that he was at the top of the class and not the creepy quite blonde kid that sat in the back. The only people that Naruto would even bother talking to sometimes were his friends Shikamaru, Kiba, and Choji. He may not have been the center of conversation like he used to be between the four of them, but he would still occasionally say something that would start up a conversation in the group. Today was the last day of Naruto's second year at the academy, which meant he was now out for 2 months. When he just got finished saying his goodbyes to his 3 friends, he started walking to his favorite ramen bar for some lunch. "Ah, well, if it isn't my best little customer," shouted a middle-aged man in a chef's outfit. "The usual 6 beef ramens and 4 pork, right, Naruto?" asked the man, who received a curt nod from Naruto and promptly left to start the order. "Hey Naruto," whispered Kugan. "Yeah, tomorrow we're leaving the village for about month. What? Why? There's something hidden outside the village that I need to retrieve for you." "Now come on Naruto, you should know that would be telling," said Kugan with a smirk as she saw his curious expression. But that's when Naruto lunch came out, being carried by the chef, who put the food in front of Naruto, who then started to dig in. "Our first stop is Tanazuka Town, Naruto." 2 days later in Tanazuka Town, a young girl about 8 years old was sitting in her bed while holding her knees close to her chest. She had dark pink, almost red hair that went a little past her neck, a red skirt, and white-colored button-up shirt with a pocket on each side of her chest, and red eyes. The strangest thing about this girl, though, was the fact that she had horns on top of her head that looked slightly like canine ears. She was also crying silently to herself as she sat in her empty room inside the orphanage. "Why do they all hate me? They all bully me and treat me like garbage. Even the adults at the school and here at the orphanage treat me like I'm some kind of monster because of these stupid horns." As the girl started to calm down a bit and hugged her knees to herself tighter, she whispered, "No one cares about me, I'm so alone," just barely loud enough to hear. And those strange dreams I've been having are getting even more frequent. A couple times that I woke up, there were handprints all around my room, and I don't know if I did it or if someone's trying to scare me with some cruel prank. Before she could think about anything else, though, her alarm clock went off, indicating that it was 8 a.m., which meant school started in an hour. She reluctantly got out of bed and got ready for school. "Hey Horns, what you got in the bag?" yelled group of 3 boys her own age that always bullied her. "Nothing," screamed the red-eyed girl before getting pushed to the ground by one of the boys, leaving the other to pour out a carton of milk on her school bag, soaking it straight through along with all her things in it. "Well, I hope it wasn't anything important, seeing as how it's all soaked with milk now, huh, Horns?" mocked the boy as the other 2 laughed behind him. She just lowered her head with her bangs covering her eyes and walked quietly to bathroom. "Those bullies were bothering you again, weren't they?" asked a young brown-haired girl as she walked into the bathroom and started to help the red-eyed girl dry off her stuff. "Thanks for your help," she said to the brown-haired girl. "You know, if there's anything you ever want to talk about, I listen," said the brown-haired girl as she saw that something seemed to be troubling the other girl. Well, she started not being completely sure if she could trust this other girl, but decided that she was nice enough to help her dry off her things and decided to tell her what she was thinking. "I found this little puppy in the woods a few days ago, but I need some help taking care of it, so could you help me by bringing it some food today?" she asked hopefully. "Sure," exclaimed the brunette happily. "I'll meet you in forest today after school with some do, okay?" "I'll be waiting," she said happily before leaving the bathroom. but as she left she never noticed the evil smirk that started to creep onto the brunette's face. The little red-eyed girl was currently sitting down in the forest and petting the little light brown puppy she found as she waited for her friend to show up with some food for it, and that's when she heard someone coming through the bushes, but when she saw who they were her eyes opened wide as she started to panic. "So how's it going, Horns? You two get the dog and hold her down," said the boy to his two underlings before they ran at her, and one of them took the puppy and the other held the girl in place. She struggled as best she could to get free and save the puppy as she watched the leader of the group of boys get a thick stick while the other boy held the crying puppy down. "Stop it, let go of me, let go, let go. I've never seen you get so worked up before, Horns. You must really like this mud, huh? Well, let's just see how much you like it when it's covered in blood," screamed the boy with an insane glint in his eye. As the boy swung down she screamed out as loud as she could, "Stop, ittttt." Right when the boy swung his raised arm down on the wailing puppy, a bright glowing neon green whip latched onto his wrist, halting his progress. The boy also let out a pain-filled scream as the whip began to eat away at his wrist like some kind of acid, and before anyone knew what was happening he was set flying into a tree where his back let out a sickening crack indicating his spine being broken right before he fell to the ground into unconsciousness. As they all followed the whip back to the owner, they could all only stare on in shock as they saw a young boy no older than themselves standing a few meters away with white spiky hair, claws, a dark purple almost blue crescent moon in the middle of his forehead, amber silted eyes, and wearing a navy blue kimono shirt, black hakama pants, and a crimson sash around his waist tied into a normal bow knot. The little puppy quickly ran behind its savior once it was free because of some sixth sense that he had, which was telling it that this person would protect him. Naruto was walking in the woods looking for a good spot to train while Kugan stayed in their hotel. As he was walking he heard a girl shouting and quickly followed the screams to where they were coming from, and the scene he saw made his blood boil as he remembered how kids would do similar things to him. With seeing such blood-boiling scene in front of him he involuntarily transformed into his semi-demon transformed state and quickly lashed out with his neon green acidic energy whip. The boy that Naruto threw into a tree with his whip would be lucky if he ever regains full mobility in his right hand now that his whip burnt his tendons and muscles that allowed his hand mobility. He'd also be lucky if he ever walked again, seeing as how bad his spine was broken. With ice-cold eyes and a spine-chilling voice, Naruto looked at the other two boys and said dangerously, "How dare you? I will see to it that you pay." The boy holding the girl quickly let go and started running away in a panic with the other boy, but before they could even get out of the clearing they were in, Naruto appeared before both of them, grabbed them by the throats, and then effectively lifted them each up with one arm. "I can see it in both your eyes. Deep down the both of you are monsters who prey upon those weaker than yourselves, and as you grow older you will only become worse, and because of that I shall halt your development here and now so you never have the chance to hurt innocent people ever again," finished Naruto with the same chilling voice and ice-cold eyes as before, and that's when his right hand began to glow green with acidic energy that started to eat away at the child who screamed in pain. The boy in his other hand started to scream and struggled to get free as well because Naruto's other hand started to glow a light blue as ice started to engross the child's body. Eventually their screams died down as one was covered from head to toe in ice and the other child's body was eaten away from the acid to such degree you couldn't even tell what or who he was anymore. Seeing as how they were now dead, he dropped the both of them to the ground with the one covered in ice shattering as he hit the hard dirt ground. "As for you," said Naruto as he walked towards the unconscious leader and knelt down beside him with his hand on his back. "You are the worst of them all," and with those final words ice slowly engulfed the child like the one before him and quickly shattered into thousands of pieces. Transforming back to his original blonde-haired human form, much to the surprise of the already shocked and speechless little girl that stayed and watched what happened silently with a small smirk on her lips at the end when she finally could comprehend what was going on. The girl didn't know why, but deep down she enjoyed watching this strange young boy who came to her rescue like in a fairy tale story kill of those three bullies in such a tortuous way. Naruto turned around and faced the little girl, and much to his shock she was walking over towards him instead of running away, so he just asked the first question that came to mind as she walked closer to him. "What is your name?" When the girl heard Naruto say that, she noticed that his eyes were much warmer and his voice was much kinder and softer than before. The red-eyed girl just smiled a little before she picked up the unharmed puppy that was sitting at her feet and answered with that small smile still on her face. "I'm Lucy." When Naruto saw the girl smile at him, he did something that he almost never does anymore. He smiled, albeit a small, almost unnoticeable smile that was just a small curve of lips, which faded as quickly as it appeared. But it was still a smile nonetheless, and Naruto couldn't understand why he even did it. With his neutral expression back, he walked a little closer to Lucy so that they were now only a few inches apart, but since Lucy was about 4 or 5 inches taller than him, Naruto gagged to look up slightly so he could look her in the eyes. "It's nice to meet you, Lucy. My name is Naruto Uzumaki." "It's nice to meet you too, Naruto." How did you change your appearance like that? I mean, one minute you had white hair and other things like claws. Now you have blonde hair and none of the other things from before. Like those claws?" asked Lucy hesitantly at first, but eventually she grew more confident near the middle of her questioning, where she started to sound and look more excited as she pelted Naruto with question after question. Naruto just held up his hand to her in silent gesture, telling her to stop, which she did. "That is something I will not tell you, but besides my ability to transform, are there any other question you wish to ask?" "Where did you come from?" she asked with a risen eyebrow. "I am from Konoha. Are you a ninja?" exclaimed Lucy excitedly as she thought about how exciting it would be to finally meet a real live ninja for the first time. "Yes, and no," answered Naruto, causing Lucy to look at him curiously before asking. "What do you mean? I haven't graduated the ninja academy yet, so officially I am only a ninja in training." "Is everyone else in your academy just as strong as you, and can everyone else in your academy do the same things as you?" asked Lucy as she thought about how cool it would be to meet a bunch of kids with Naruto's abilities. "No, they aren't, and none of them are as strong as me. I am the strongest." "Wow, really? Wait, I know why you can transform, and are also so strong now." "Oh, please enlighten me then," asked Naruto with a slight smirk as he thought of how futile it was for this girl to figure out the origins of his abilities. "You're from one of those bloodline clans, aren't you?" exclaimed Lucy with a big smile on her face. When Naruto heard her say that, he couldn't help but let his eyes widen in surprise a bit, while he wondered how this girl could have figured out that he really is from a clan. "This girl, she's intelligent," thought Naruto as gave her quick look over. When his eyes landed on the pair of horns that adorned her head, he couldn't help but give them a curious look. When Lucy noticed Naruto staring at her horns, she couldn't help but try to quickly cover them up with her hands before looking away with a scowl on her face. "Do you think they're ugly too? Or maybe you think I'm monster like everyone else now, huh?" screamed out Lucy angrily. "No, I don't. Personally, I think they look kind of cute on you," said Naruto impassively, without even being able to realize the full extent of what those few simple kind words meant to Lucy. After all, Naruto wasn't exactly the emotional type, let alone the type to actually understand the reactions and emotions of another person. When Lucy heard what Naruto said, she couldn't help but blush and try to hide her face by looking down at the ground as she thought excitedly, he thinks they're cute." Do you really think they're cute?" she asked just barely above a whisper. "Yes, I really do," said Naruto as he looked at the blushing girl curiously, while he wondered why she was even blushing at all. Lucy just put her hands behind her head and had a big smile on her face as she said, "I always thought they looked kind of cute on me too." "May I ask you a few questions now too, Lucy? What do you want to know? Where are your parents?" Lucy just looked down with sad expression before answering, "I don't have any. I don't even have any relatives." "I can understand how you feel, Lucy, because I don't have any family either," said Naruto while thinking. "Except for Kugen, but it's probably best to not mention her because Lucy can probably relate to me more if she knows that I have absolutely no one." "You've also been bullied before because of those horns, haven't you, Lucy?" said Naruto with a slight frown as he remembered about how he would always get bullied before Kugen took him in as her own. "I was also bullied just like you when I was little, but that was before I learned how to defend myself properly." "You're like me," said Lucy with a hint of surprise in her voice after hearing everything Naruto just said. "I suppose I am. I also have something that separates me from everyone else, just like how your horns separate you from everyone else." "Oh really, what is it?" exclaimed Lucy because of her excitement of finally being able to find someone else with something that made him different from everyone else, just like how her horns made her different from everyone else. I have these whisker-like marks on my face, and just like how you were hassled because of your horns, I was always hassled because of these whiskers, said Naruto as he pointed to his whisker-like marks that marked him as the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox, which he was still oblivious to. Lucy just stared at the whisker-like marks for a second before she subconsciously reached out with her right hand and started stroking them, with a curious look on her face as she did it. Naruto just raised an amused eyebrow at the girl's straightforward and bold actions, but after a couple seconds Lucy finally realized exactly what she was doing and pulled her hand away quickly, before turning around with a crimson tint in cheeks. I can't believe I just did that. But besides that, I've finally found someone so similar to myself. Maybe he'll want to be my friend. Naruto, would you, like to be friends? Asked Lucy hopefully as she looked directly into Naruto's impassive eyes. Naruto also noticed a hint of fear in her eyes at the possibility of him turning her down. I would be happy to be your friend, Lucy, and right when Naruto said that, a big smile broke across Lucy's face, right before she jumped him and put Naruto into a deathlock of a hug. What a strange and straightforward girl, thought Naruto as Lucy gave him a tight hug, which he returned with slight hesitation. After a few moments Lucy let go with a small blush on her face, but this time she didn't bother trying to hide it and just looked at Naruto with a happy smile. When Lucy let go, Naruto took a quick look at the sun, which he noticed was starting to get low, and that only meant he had to get back to his hotel room now, or risk getting Kugen mad, and that was never a good idea. I have to go now, Lucy, but I'll be back here at noon tomorrow if you wish to see me again. I'll also be in town for about another week, said Naruto before he turned around and started off towards his and Kugen's hotel. Wait, Naruto! Shouted Lucy, who caused Naruto to halt and look back at her. Why not stay with me since you don't have anyone to go back to? She asked hesitantly. Naruto just frowned a little before saying, 2 years ago some found me and took me in. That's the person I'm here with now, so I can't go with you. Oh, but you're still like me, aren't you? I mean, you know how it feels to be alone even though you have someone now, don't you? Asked Lucy hopefully, because for some reason she couldn't help but find comfort in knowing that there's someone else like her that knew how it felt to be alone. More than you can ever imagine, said Naruto before he turned back around and started walking away. I guess I'll see him tomorrow then, said Lucy as she too left with a small happy smile on her face and an unusual small skip in her step. Kugen was currently sitting at a plain wooden desk in her hotel room, looking over a couple of old ancient maps that she took from one of her caves up in the mountains before her and Naruto got to Tanazuka town. When Naruto came into the room, he took a quick look around at the plain room, with 2 separate beds, a nightstand with a lamp in between them, and a plain wooden oak desk that Kugen was currently sitting at. So where have you been all day? Asked Kugen as she heard Naruto come through the door while still looking over the different maps. Just around the village, responded Naruto as he walked up to the right side of Kugen. So, have you found out where whatever it is you're looking for? No, but I'm getting closer with looking at these maps. It should only take a few more days of looking over these maps before I figure out where it is, said Kugen as she continued to scan the maps. What is it we're going to retrieve anyway? Asked Naruto questioningly as he looked at the strange maps with a raised eyebrow, before saying, those maps don't look like any maps I've ever seen. That's because they're maps of the boundary and not the elemental countries, said before her eyes widened in surprise because of her slight slip of the tongue. Before Naruto could ask what the boundary was, Kugen said, forget I said anything and just come here. Naruto tried to slip away, but Kugen was too fast for him and grabbed him while saying happily, gotcha, and putting him in her lap. Naruto just released a defeated sigh as Kugen rested her cheek on top of his head and held him tightly to her chest. Why don't you go to sleep, Naruto? I would if you'd let me go. Not a chance, so I guess you're just going to have to fall asleep right where you are then, Kugen said with a devious smirk. Naruto sighed in defeat yet again before saying with a light blush and looking down, fine Kugen, you win, but could you you know. Could I what? Asked Kugen curiously, seeing as how Naruto would rarely ask her for anything that would cause him to blush. Could you sing that song you sing for me sometimes? Kugen just looked down at Naruto with soft expression before quietly saying, sure, just close your eyes. Kugen then took a deep breath and began to sing a very old Latin song that she would sometimes sing for Naruto as lullaby. Before she started the song, Kugan felt Naruto relax in her lap and rest his head back against her chest. Anyone who's ever watched Elfen Lied Shout be familiar with this song, and if you're not, well, the song's name is Lilium. I recommend looking it up on YouTube. Os iusti meditabitur sapientium, the mouth of the just shall meditate wisdom. Et lingua eius loquitur indicium, and his language shall be clear. Beatus vir qui suffer temptation m, blessed is he who suffers temptation. Quonicum probates furet accipient coronam vitae, since he, with striving, shall receive the crown of life. Kyrie, Ignis, divine, Elazone, Lord, fire divine, have mercy. O quam sancta, O how sacred. Quam serena, how serene. Quam benigna, how benevolent. Quam amoena, how lovely. O castitas lilium, O, lily of purity. Kyrie, Ignis, divine, Elazone, Lord, fire divine, have mercy. O quam sancta, O how sacred. Quam serena, how serene. Quam benigna, how benevolent. Quam amoena, how lovely. O castitas lilium, O, lily of purity. When Kugan finally finished the song, she took a quick glance down at the now peacefully sleeping Naruto and couldn't help but smile fondly at him before going back to her work with looking over the maps. It's already an hour past noon. Did he decide not to come? Whispered Lucy sadly as she sat against a tree. After a few more minutes of wait and someone suddenly placed a blue cap on top of her head, making her look up. When she looked up, Lucy smiled and said happily, "You came, Naruto, but what's the cap for?" asked Lucy as she looked up at the cap that now adorned her head. "With that covering up your horns, no one will bother you anymore," said Naruto as he watched her stand up. "Thank you, Naruto, that was really nice of you. For the rest of my time here, Lucy, I have decided to train you in the ninja basics, so you will be able to protect yourself for now on, understood?" "Hi," said Lucy excitedly as she thought about how cool OT would be to learn ninja skills. "Good, now first things first. You're going to learn how to climb a tree, with no hands." For the next 6 days, Naruto spent his time training Lucy in learning how to activate her chakra and tree climbing, which she learned how to do after the first 3 days, much to Naruto's surprise. The following 3 days Naruto spent teaching her the replacement jutsu, transformation jutsu, and clone jutsu. Naruto also taught her a few of his heavenly fist style moves, which is style that Kugan's been teaching him for the last 2 years. While Naruto was training Lucy for the past week, he was begging to get attached to the strange little red-eyed girl that was always so happy to be around him, whether he noticed it or not. Lucy was also starting to like Naruto more and more every day and would always give him a big hug when he came in at the end of the day when he would have to leave and go back to his hotel room. But all good things must come to an end, and today was the 7th and last day Naruto would be in Tanzaku town because Kugan finally found what she was looking for this morning. Kugan would have left the moment she found where it was hidden too if Naruto wasn't being unusually persistent about staying until the end of the day. Seeing Naruto become so persistent about staying for the rest of the day only made Kugan curious about Naruto's reasons for staying, which caused her to transform into her fox form and follow Naruto for the whole day. Naruto just entered the clearing where he and Lucy have been training and saw that Lucy was sitting under the same tree that she normally does while wearing the blue cap he gave her. "Naruto, you're here," exclaimed Lucy happily when she saw Naruto enter the clearing. Lucy got up quickly and ran up to Naruto and gave him the usual tight hug she normally gave him when he came, which Naruto returned hesitantly. After all, he still wasn't really used to anyone besides Kugan touching him, let alone hugging him. After Naruto pulled her away gently, he looked at her with his normal neutral face, but because of spending so much time with him over the last week, she could tell that even though Naruto may have seemed to have looked normal, the fact was that she was able to notice a little sadness behind those blue sapphire eyes of his. "Naruto, what's wrong?" asked Lucy as she grabbed Naruto's hand comfortingly in both of hers. "I'm leaving today, Lucy," said Naruto with an almost unnoticeable amount of sadness behind, which Lucy barely caught. It did make Lucy a little happy to know that Naruto was sad about having to leave her. Oh, I see. When do you have to leave?" "Not until tonight. I thought that since today is my last day here we could train till sunset like we usually do, but after we're done I'll take you to the festival tonight." To say Lucy was happy would have been an understatement. She was ecstatic at the idea of finally going to a festival, and best of all she would be going with Naruto. Thank you Naruto, I've never been to the festival because I was always afraid of how people would react to my horns. Well, now that you have that cap I gave you, you won't have to worry about anyone even seeing them. Well, we should probably start training now before it gets any later, stated Naruto, which Lucy nodded happily to. With that interaction complete, the two then proceeded to train for the rest of the day until sunset. Up in the trees a few yards away, Kugan was watching the whole interaction in her fox form with curiously raised eyebrow. I never would have thought that Naruto would have become friends with a girl. I think I'll stick around to see just how close they are. I can always use new dirt to blackmail him with later. It's also always fun to make him blush, which I can probably do later on when I talk to him about this girl, said Kugan with a devilish smirk on her lips. After a moment or two her expression became softer as she whimpered, I'm glad you found a friend Naruto. After all, I know for a fact that you're not the friendliest person, let alone an easy person to become friends with, seeing as how you have the same attitude of that former stoic dog demon and lord of the western lands, Sesshomaru. It was a little past sunset and Naruto and Lucy just arrived at the festival hand in hand at Lucy's request. Kugan was also still following the two of them as she hid in the shadows. As they vame into the festival grounds, Lucy heard Naruto start humming an interesting melody that caught her attention. Naruto, what is that song you're humming? It's called Lilium and it's one of my favorite songs. It's beautiful, said Lucy before looking up at the sky and saying, wow, Naruto, look at all the lights, they're beautiful. Yes, it most definitely is, said Naruto as he looked at Lucy but quickly turned his head away with pink tint in his cheeks when Lucy looked at him and noticed him staring at her. When Lucy noticed him staring, she turned her head the other way with an even deeper tint of pim in her cheeks. Why did I look at her like that, and what was that strange feeling I got in the pit of my stomach when she looked at me? Thought Naruto before releasing a sigh and saying, so what do you wish to do first, Lucy? I know, let's play that ring toss game, exclaimed Lucy, who started to drag Naruto over to it. When they got to the stand, Naruto listened to simple rules and easily threw every ring around the four thin wooden posts set up in the back of the stand. When he won, he let Lucy pick herself a prize, which she happily did. Lucy picked out a large stuffed dog that looked like the one she now keeps as a pet at the orphanage. That's how the two spent the rest of their evening. They played every game they could, with Naruto winning all the time and Lucy only winning every now and then. The fact that Naruto would always win kind of irked her, but she was just happy to be able to spend time with him. After all, she was happy to do anything as long as it was with Naruto. Right now Naruto and Lucy were sitting side by side on a picnic table eating funnel cake. Sorry Naruto, but it's time I broke up your little date. After all, I want to get moving before it gets any later, whispered Kugan with a frown as she looked up in the sky to see the moon's position before transforming into her human form under the cover of shadows. Hey Naruto, take a look at the stars. They're beautiful, aren't they? Said Lucy as she looked up at the night sky. Naruto obliged to her request and looked up at the stars, which he noticed that they definitely were bright today. They definitely are. Hey Naruto, it's time to go. I want to get out of this village before sunrise, said Kugan, who appeared right behind Naruto, making him and Lucy jump a little in surprise. I didn't expect you to come and find me, Kugan. What can I say? I like to surprise you. Naruto, who is she? Asked Lucy as she gripped Naruto's sleeve possessively. She's Kugan, the one I told you about that took me in. Oh, said Lucy dejectedly as she let Naruto go so he could get up and walk to the side of the older women, who put her AR around Naruto's shoulder. You have to go now, don't you, Naruto? Asked Lucy sadly. Yes, I do, said Naruto with a hint of sadness in his own voice. If you want to say goodbye, Naruto, I suggest you do it now, said Kugan as she pushed Naruto towards the little red-eyed girl. So will we ever see each other again, Naruto? Asked Lucy hopefully. Like I said when we first met, I live in Konoha, so if you ever wish to see me again, come and find me. I'd be happy if you did. You really mean it? Yes. Then I promise I'll come and find you in Konoha one day, Naruto, said Lucy happily before giving Naruto a tight hug, which he returned just as tightly. Their little moment was cut short, though, when Kugan gently pulled Naruto away and back to her side. Well, it's finally time to go, Naruto, and with that said, Naruto gave one last wave goodbye right before the two disappeared in a burst of blue flames courtesy of Kugan. Goodbye, Naruto. I promise I'll find you in Konoha one day and we can be together again, whispered Lucy as she started walking away into the crowd of people. As Lucy walked away, she felt something move around in her skirt pocket. She then reached into her pocket and pulled out a gold locket and noticed an inscription on the back which read, "Happy 11th birthday Lucy. I meant to have said that she was 10 and not 8 last chapter." Also, for those of you that are curious, Lucy is 2 years and 3 months older than Naruto in this story. When Lucy saw the inscription on the back, she was so happy that she actually started to cry. After all, this was her first birthday present she ever received. "I can't believe he remembered that I told him my birthday was July 10th, said Lucy as she wiped away her silent tears of joy, because she knew that if Naruto remembered her birthday and even bothered to have gotten her something, it could only mean one thing as far as she was concerned, which was, Naruto must. "Does this mean that he likes me?" said Lucy joyfully before opening up the locket, which started to play the same melody that Naruto was humming earlier. She also noticed that on one side of the opened locket was a picture of Naruto with his ever-neutral expression, and on the other side was a picture of herself smiling. Lucy then closed the locket and put it around her neck and walked off with a small smile on her face as she began humming the same melody as the locket was a few moments ago, while carrying a large bag full of stuffed animals that Naruto won for her. "So you still haven't been able to locate Naruto yet, have you, Hokage-sama?" asked Inu as he stood in front of the Hokage, who was sitting at his desk with a crystal ball in front of him. "No, I haven't," said the aged Hokage with a sigh. "In fact, I haven't been able to even spy on Naruto for the last 2 years. Every time I tried, the crystal ball turns black and a strange white phantom-like dog appears inside it and releases a loud roar, and then the ball goes blank," said the Hokage with a frown. "Should I continue my search for him then, sir?" "No, I'm sure he's fine and just on some vacation with that blonde-haired girl who took him in 2 years ago. Speaking of her, Inu, I want you to bring Naruto and that woman to my office the moment you see them in the village, understood?" "Hi," and with that Inu promptly disappeared into the shadows. "It's about time I got some answers on what you've been doing with Naruto, Tenko Kugen. I'm also curious to finding out what's protecting Naruto from my crystal ball," said the Hokage as he looked out his window and continued to smoke on his pipe. Naruto and Kugen have been traveling on the road for the past few days now and would usually just camp in the forest for the night. During their traveling, every time Naruto would ask Kugen where they were going, she would always say, "I'll tell you when we get there." When they started traveling again today at sunrise, Naruto noticed something very odd. After an hour or two of walking, he noticed that the grass, trees, and all other signs of life, like small forest animals, were starting to decrease. More and more trees started to look dead, the grass or whatever patches of grass he could find were brown and lifeless, and he could barely hear or see any animals anymore. "Kugen, why is everything dying the further we get to wherever it is we're going?" "Because Naruto, this place is tainted in an evil aura that kills any life in the area," replied Kugen without even looking down at Naruto. Naruto just gave her a questioning look before dropping it. After all, considering the strangely serious look on Kugen's face, he thought it would be better not to bother her. After another hour of traveling, Naruto suddenly felt a horrible chill run up his spine, which didn't go unnoticed by Kugen. "So you finally feel it, Naruto? Better late than never, I suppose, seeing as how we're finally here." Naruto just gave her another strange look before looking around. What he saw in front of him and around him made his eyes open wide in surprise. Naruto noticed that everything around him was dead. The few trees in the area were lifeless, dull gray colors, along with the weeds. There were even dull gray clouds in the sky that kept the sun from hitting the area. And even the dirt was a dull, lifeless gray color. What really caught Naruto's attention though was the strange pitch-black wall a few yards in front of him that seemed to stretch on and on without an end. What is this? This, Naruto, is the boundary that separates the demon world from the human world. How is that possible? Exclaimed a shocked Naruto. 500 years ago, I and the 4 Hades kings created this boundary that trapped all the demons into their own world. We did it in order to stop the 9 Baiju from rallying them together and launching an all-out war against the humans, said Kugen as she gave Naruto a hard look. Why are we here then, Kugen? Asked an astonished Naruto as he looked at the pitch-black wall before taking a sudden step back as he noticed some kind of shadow run across the other side of the wall. There is something inside of there that I wish to retrieve for you. Something that was left for you to wield a long time ago. Also, what you just saw is called a hellhound, said Kugan, referring to the shadow Naruto saw on the other side of the wall. A hellhound? Asked Naruto questioningly as he watched Kugan walk alongside the boundary. It's a creature that looks like a large wolf and guards the outside of the boundary. They are capable of coming out, but they can only move about 30 or 40 feet away from the boundary. Then how are we supposed to get in? There's a secret pathway inside that we will be crossing. Wait, you mean we're actually going to the demon world? No, what we are looking for is located in the middle of the pass, but we will be going to demon world when you're older because there's something there that belongs to you too. You're just not ready to wield it yet, said Kugan as she took a turn into the boundary. Kugan, what are you doing? Shouted Naruto in a slightly panicked voice as he watched her disappear into the boundary. Kugan then popped her head out of the boundary and said with a sly smile, "Come on Naruto, what are you waiting for?" Naruto cautiously approached the area where Kugan stuck her head out, but before he could walk through a hand cam out, grabbed his arm, and then pulled him in. When he was in, he noticed that Kugan had a firm hold of his arm. He noticed that they were in some kind of narrow pathway with the pitch black walls of the boundary on each side of them. "This is the pass, isn't it?" stated Naruto as he looked at the leafless and narrow path of dirt that made up the secret pass Kugan was talking about earlier. "Yes," said Kugan with a smirk as she watched Naruto look around at the two pitch black walls of the boundary on each side of them as they walked through the dead and leafless pass. Kugan suddenly stopped walking, causing Naruto to do the same. She then turned around, knelt down right in front of him while she put both her hands on his shoulders, looked him directly in the eyes, and said with a stern expression, "Before we go any further Naruto, you have to stay next to me at all times. Don't you dare wander off. Do you understand me?" Naruto just nodded to her demand while he eyed Kugan curiously as she used her claw to cut a strand of her hair off. She then started to twirl the strand of hair with her hands. When it was at a point that she wanted, she told Naruto to hold out his arm, which he complied to. She then tied it around his wrist so it looked like a bracelet. "In case we do get separated, that will protect you. It will also help me find you because of my scent being on it," said Kugan before ruffling his hair affectionately while smiling. She then got up and started walking to whatever it was they were looking for. Naruto just eyed the makeshift bracelet curiously before following Kugan. "Kugan, if this pass exists, then why don't the demons use it?" "Because Naruto, I'm the only one that knows exactly where it is. I'll admit that there are demons who sometimes find it, but they are quickly dealt with by the hellhounds. The hellhounds are basically the guardians of the boundary. They keep humans and demons from crossing the boundary or making it through the pass alive." "Then why aren't they attacking us?" asked Naruto as the two continued their trek through the desolate area that was the boundary's secret pass. "I thought you would have noticed already." "Noticed what?" "That we're being followed," stated Kugan as she pointed to the shadows moving behind the boundary's pitch black walls. "Are those the hellhounds?" "Yes, and they aren't attacking us because they can sense my spiritual aura. In other words, they know who I am, and that's WHT. They're not attacking. They know I'm their creator." "Wait, you created them?" "In a way I did. They were created with the boundary, and since I helped in the boundary's creation, they know that I'm their master." Naruto listened gratefully to all that Kugan had to say, but he couldn't help but get the feeling that she was leaving something important about the boundary out. Some kind of secret about the boundary that was important. Something about exactly what was behind those pitch black walls. Knowing that he probably wasn't going to get any answers, he decided to just forget it and ask about it later and just kept walking behind Kugan. As the pair walked on, they eventually came across a skeleton of a huge dog laying down with its mouth open. "Must be creepy to see your own skeleton, huh, Sesshomaru?" stated Kyubi mockingly. "I'll admit that it is strange to see my own remains." "We're finally here," said Kugan with a smirk as she led Naruto through the mouth of the monstrous skeleton. When they were inside of the skeleton's ribcage, Naruto noticed a katana with a black wooden sheath and a blue handle stuck inside one of the huge ribs. "Go on Naruto, pull it out. That katana is what we came here for after all," said Kugan as she gave him a light shove into the direction of the katana. Not one ever being needed to be told twice, Naruto proceeded to where the katana was being held. Naruto gave the sword a quick look over and then firmly grasped the katana's handle and gave a hard tug. Naruto then looked at the sword with a slightly agitated twitch of his eyebrow as he noticed that it was still being confined by the bone. I guess I need a little more muscle, said Naruto as he closed his eyes for a second to concentrate. When he opened his eyes again, they were now amber with slits and he was now in his semi-transformed state. Naruto took a deep breath before giving another pull. With that last tug he finally pulled out the sword. Good job Naruto. Now let's get out of here. Not wanting to stay in this place any longer, Naruto started following Kugen's retreating form after he put the sword through his sash. As Naruto followed Kugen, he suddenly heard something or someone whisper his name, making him come to an abrupt stop. When he looked behind him he didn't see anything but the giant dog skeleton, but when he turned to the right he saw something that looked like a human-shaped shadow on the other side of the pitch-black wall. The longer Naruto looked at the shadow, the louder the whispers became. Then, as if in some sort of trance, Naruto unconsciously started walking to the shadowy figure on the other side of the wall. He kept going until he eventually walked through the barrier. Hey Naruto, stop lagging behind or you're going to get lost, shouted Kugen as she looked over her shoulder only to see, no Naruto, which made her eyes widen in panic before shouting out in a panicked-filled voice, Naruto, ooh.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.